the dreaded setback. The beast has returned. That's how it feels. That's how you view OCD. Oh no, please. Right now I'm feeling so good. I've felt so good for so long. I can't have that come back into my life. That dreaded time, that hardest time of my life. Please, anything but that. Door opens, OCD enters. Why? Because you are currently on the back foot the whole time internally in your mind. You are watching, observing that OCD doesn't come in the door. Can you see a streak of light coming through the crack in the door? You are watching that. You are observing that. You are focused. Your whole everything is reliant on that not entering. Why? Because you equate it to the end of happiness. You equate it to baseline peace, frantically disturbed forever. In reality, you're just experiencing anxiety. You were very triggered in the past when you had very few tools. Maybe you were triggered when you had better tools, but your tools had not been sharpened. Every day they're becoming sharper if you are working on recovery. Maybe you've been coasting for years. You've become arrogant in your recovery journey. I can never be got again. Nothing will ever disturb me. Alas, a futile pursuit towards OCD. The tools have got rusty, and then ventures in OCD, willing to attack, and you are defenseless. Recovery is an inside job that takes persistence, practice, and time. If you do no work on recovery and get so relaxed, what happens? You get into trouble. It's like anything in life. So you have a relationship. You get so relaxed in your relationship, what happens? You tend to lose your relationship because you don't put enough energy in. Maybe you are so focused on one area of your life, you take your eye off another area of your life. Maybe you've been working out so much, you think, I don't need to work out as hard, my diet can slip, I can, all these things that aren't as important because I've built muscle and fitness and it's robust and it's going to stay around forever. Alas, you slip back into being in the shape you once were. That is the same with a business. You might think, oh, you're very successful in your job, your career, then you may lose your job. Maybe you will lose your business. All these things come about through complacency. Human beings have to think to themselves somewhat that they are warriors, that they are going to be attacked, or they are going to be the attacker. And if they do not think about that, they're usually attacked in all areas of life. OCD recovery is the same. Don't view OCD as a thing that is so relaxed it just fades away with time and age. That's crap. There's plenty of people in their 80s, generation after generation after generation, locked 24/7 chronic guilt and anxiety because they did not have tools. They didn't even exist in their era. You are so lucky to live at this time right now where you can recover. You will have to practice. That doesn't mean you're endlessly working on recovery. I do not have to endlessly work on recovery, but I have to be alert like an alcoholic in sobriety, that I could once again slip if I become complacent. That is the same in all areas of life. And we learn from mistakes of complacency, and we learn from mistakes of not sharpening our tools. You have to think about those tools. The reading, the breaking down irrational beliefs, the one-to-one sessions, breaking down, shifting, practice. You are changing that thing. I'm around OCD all the time. I'm working with OCD 24/7. It keeps me awake to the errors in my ways where OCD could venture in that door. If you think like this, you are giving yourself the best chances of recovery. If you think like this in all areas of your life, You are giving yourself the best chances of success in any area of your life and whatever success means to you. OCD recovery is anxiety, bringing anxiety down. Anxiety is a part of life. You are human. We are in life. This is life. OCD recovery is life. Mental health balancing is life. When we learn the tools for recovery, we learn the tools for life. You will not recover just by saying to yourself, thoughts are thoughts, be gone, pass through my ears like clouds, all this kind of fluffy stuff that we hear on the internet and in lots of books for decades. It's light-hearted, it works for mild OCD, but does very, very little when you're dealing with something like OCD. OCD is robust, it's a resilient thing, okay? Don't view it so much as the enemy coming to get you, but think of it a bit like that. Most of the time, think of it like the shadow. You're trying to run away, you can't. If you instead, with OCD, embrace it as a part of you, anxiety we don't want gone, it's going to save our life. We want it to fade down. We start to have a better relationship with anxiety and OCD. Fairy tale stories of just breathing in and out and letting anxiety be there and nothing else is too fluffy for OCD recovery. It does little. It's like trying to recover from being very ill with a glass of fresh orange juice. Great prevention, but not so helpful when you're in the trenches. And with OCD, you're really in the trenches. Okay? So you are going to have to go through changing your perspectives that rearm OCD. When we have strong, irrational, black and white beliefs, like I am the worst person if I do ... I could never forgive myself or accept myself if I do ... This life is unbearable. This situation is unbearable. We feel horrendous because we are giving OCD that catastrophized thinking it needs to load up. If instead we learn to be rational, have flexible thinking, we learn to create a mental environment that OCD can no longer flourish in. I used to think, I'll work out harder, I'll make myself mentally tougher over and over. That was an internal fight. Of course, working out, of course, learning new thinking is helpful for the journey. That's a part of the process. But the application was coming from a point of internal control. And that was doing the opposite. I was embracing the struggle that OCD wanted. It was luring me into that fist fight close that it wanted. That is where it wants you. OCD recovery involves changing perspectives, giving up internal control, but persisting to learn and shape your new thinking. It is going to throw setbacks at you randomly. You're going to feel like you're at square one, like you've learned nothing. It's going to feel like you've learned nothing. And you are going to convince yourself in that moment, especially when it's making it feel as real as it can get, that alas, you are never going to recover. You are never going to be free from this. If it didn't create that, it wouldn't be the disorder it is. And if it didn't do that, it would have never been the disorder it was through history, where people really struggled no matter what level of intelligence. Howard Hughes, the late aviation tycoon, who was the 5th richest man in the world, obviously a very smart individual, lost his life pretty much to OCD. Why? He didn't live in this time today where you can recover from OCD. He was living a life of complete health compulsions. He had gone to the extent of air purification devices in his cars to filter the oxygen, which you can now see in museums, where he was doing everything possible to escape OCD's clutches, but was instead walking straight into them. You have got to go through the recovery steps, one by one, gradually, one day at a time, sometimes 1 hour at a time, 1 minute at a time, depending how much you're suffering right now. We are here to help. We have walked this journey. We're here to help you on this journey. We are human beings that have OCD and understand how that mechanism works in our head. I can remember vividly the years stuck with OCD and the chronic guilt 24/7 anxious cycle from the moment my eyes opened in the morning to the last thing when they closed at night, and pretty much in the damn night too, because I was fighting a mental fight through nightmares daily for years, where I felt like I was intermittently awake, asleep, insomnia, no insomnia, a little bit of relief, then a setback. That was even in the bloody night. One night you sleep well, you think, oh, I've recovered, I'm fine. The next minute it's frantic. The next minute you wake up exhausted. 1 minute refreshed, 1 minute 50% refreshed, 75%. That is just the sleep elements. OCD is a roller coaster. You're going to have to ride it. The peaks and troughs level out over time. Persist, persist, persist.